The objective of this demo is to demonstrate the eyeglass for Isilon SyncIQ failover for basic SRM on phishware environment by utilizing the Superna Eyeglass API and eyeglass post failover script. In this short demo, we are using eyeglass version 1.5 that includes the eyeglass REST API feature. The SyncIQ failover is managed through the eyeglass access zone failover and initiated by using the eyeglass API curl commands. DNS dual delegation is configured to handle name resolution for failover and failback. Bash script is created and enabled as the post failover script to remount the NFS data store on the recovery side ESX host, add VM to the inventory, and then power on the VM on the recovery side. This solution also includes Fishbeer Management Assistant VMA appliance as the proxy between eyeglass and Fishbeer infrastructure. The post failover script is based on executing commands on vCenter server or ESX host on the primary and secondary sites through this VMA. There are some pre-failover or failback steps that needs to be done manually prior to initiate the access zone failover or failback. These steps include shutting down VMs, remove VM from inventory, and unmount the NFS data store. Please refer to eyeglass online documentation for details. For NFS data store, we need to add both EXSI, primary, and secondary host IP addresses as the client of this NFS export. Now we want to show you some diagrams for this demo. The first diagram, we can see there are two sites here, protected or the primary site and recovery or secondary sites. You can see here there are two separate setups for each site, including vCenter server, ESXi host, and Isilon cluster for NFS data store. Eyeglass will communicate to the Fishbeer environment through the VMA appliance. The next diagram is the setting prior to failover. We can see here that the protected VM is running on the NFS data store from the primary cluster. And the SyncIQ replication pair has also been configured, and it is in operation to replicate data from primary to secondary cluster. The next diagram is for failover process. I will only highlight some of the numbered processes here. For more details, you can refer to the eyeglass online documentation. Process number 1, 2, and 3 are the manual steps required prior to failover. These steps are to shut down protected VM, remove VM from inventory, and unmount the NFS data store. Process number 4 is to initiate failover. In this demo, we will show the example of using the eyeglass API to initiate this failover process. Process number 20, 21, and 22 are the post-failover steps. Eyeglass failover job will execute the post-failover script by communicating with VMA appliance to mount the NFS data store, add VM to the inventory, and then to bring the recovery VM up and running. The next diagram is for fallback process. Basically, this diagram is similar to failover process, but now it is in reverse direction. Now we want to run a demo for that. We can see from this window that we have created an API token for eyeglass. This API key will be used as the token header for our CURL commands. And we have created a post failover and failback bash script to handle the mounting of the NFS data store, adding the VM to the vSphere inventory, and then to power on the VM. As we can see here, we have also enabled this post failover script, so it will be executed as part of the post failover procedures. Now let's take a look at this vSphere web client. Currently, this VM is running on this primary site. It is residing on the primary Isilon cluster. And we want to do failover so then this VM will run on the secondary site from the secondary Isilon cluster. Prior to executing failover, we need to run some pre-failover steps manually. The first step is to shut down this VM. The second step is to remove this VM from inventory. And the third step is to unmount the NFS data store. Now we are ready with the failover process. First, we want to get the ID of the registered Isilon cluster on this eyeglass appliance via the CURL command. This is the CURL command to get the ID of the Isilon clusters. And this is the response from the eyeglass. Next, based on this Isilon cluster ID, we also want to get the ID of the access zone that will be failed over. From this API response, we can get the ID of this access zone that will be failed over. The API gives this job ID as the response to that command. We can monitor the status of this failover job based on that job ID. Now we can see that the job has been started. After a while, we can execute the same command to monitor the status of this job. And now, from this response, we can see that the job has completed successfully. Alright, now we also want to verify that the VM has been failed over to the secondary side. And now we want to see it from the vSphere web client accessing the secondary vCenter server. So now we can see that this VM has been failed over to the secondary side, and now it's already up and running on this secondary ESXi server. And the NFS data store that is used by this VM now is the secondary Isilon cluster. We will also show the failback process. Basically, all the steps are the same. We just need to reverse the direction. Same as the failover process, we also need to do some pre-failback steps manually. So the first step basically is to shut down this VM. Okay, now we want to shut down this VM. The second step is to remove this VM from the vSphere inventory. So we remove this from inventory. And the third step is to unmount the NFS data store. Now we are ready to execute the failback processes. So this is the same command, the same CURL command, but we reverse the source ID and target ID, and also we change the access zone ID accordingly. So now the API gives response of the job ID of this failback process. Again, we also want to verify this failback process by executing this CURL command and we specify the job ID of this failback process, and here we are. You can get this status. So the job has been started, and now we just need to wait for a while for this failback process to be completed, and then we will check again whether this failback process has been completed successfully. So now we want to check the status of this failback process. Alright, from this status, we can see that the failback process has been completed and completed successfully. Now we also want to verify that the VM is already failed over to the primary side, and we want to verify it from the vCenter on the primary side. Alright, so this is the VM. This VM has been failed back to the primary side. So it is up and running, and it is running on the primary side. Hope this short demo gives you an idea on how to utilizing Eyeglass API for basic SRM on vSphere environment with Isilon NFS Data Store. For further information, including the commands and sample scripts, please refer to our Superna Eyeglass online documentation. Thank you.